Welcome back. Today I'm going over my best and personal favorite builds to take into the new Auric Maelstrom Damnation missions, and I'm also going to be updating the class guides in a minor way here for now, then giving them their own individual videos later on in the future when I have some more free time. And you'll also be seeing an Auric level tier list update very soon too. But since this update dropped, I've probably had the most fun ever since I started playing Darktide. The new missions really brought the game back to life for me and are giving me the challenge that I really wanted. And when they added that mass monstrosity mode where some of them are a little weakened or whatever, you know I've been requesting something like this for a long time. So to see it get put into the game in such an amazing way really just made my whole day. I think the very first time I did the mission, I killed like 15 to 20 monstrosities in one map on stream the other night. And so I want to thank everyone that showed up to that stream. It was a lot of fun, and I want to give a double thank you to the channel members. You guys really helped keep everything going, but I'll talk more about them later. Because since that stream, I've beaten one of these missions with every build I've ever posted. So I ended up with a pretty good idea of how insane they can really get. So lighting this off, we have to start with what you'll be dealing with. And thanks to Grimm's guide that they posted over on Reddit the other day, we can see all the mission types. So thank you so much for posting this. And as you can see, it's a lot. Any of these 14 missions can rotate in every hour, and he did say that 2 of them haven't been seen yet. I personally haven't seen the corruption one myself, and these also count as the long-awaited flash missions, so that's kind of cool. But they're a big enough challenge that my recommendations had to change pretty drastically to be more focused on keeping you alive and healthy and completing the entire mission with the new Curio technology. And this needs to be explained first so the rest of the stuff makes a little bit more sense. With the new ability to pick 2 perks on your Curio, you can guarantee an amazing one with like minor shop camping. So my new BIS recommendation for Curios is toughness speed regeneration, stamina regeneration, and block efficiency increase. But block efficiency can be replaced by a lot of other things if you don't like spending too much time in melee. It just gets an insane amount of value with the way that I play. And when you combine this with the 20% from the weapon, you end up in a position where you can pretty much ignore everything in front of you altogether. And Psyker can get to like 68% or something stupid, which makes you almost unkillable with kinetic deflection and deflector. So on Psyker, Vet, and Zealot, I always recommended +1 wound, +1 toughness, and +1 HP. This holds up in the new Auric mission and is one of the most well-rounded things to kind of deal with everything, but I really want to emphasize that extra wound now. Sometimes there's just too much chaos happening, so you just end up going down, and it's so clutch to have that extra mistake in your pocket. If you've been watching for a long time, you also know I play most of the game in melee, and if you're really good at it, I now recommend 1 wound and 6 stamina. I've been running 9 stamina since almost March. It just gives you like way too much utility, and you've seen me put in work with this live so many times. The utility it brings to the table turns you into the melee demon Nurgle boys have nightmares about. But I do want to say, if you don't like melee or aren't good at it, just stick to the normal setup, and if it's a ranged only map, don't bother with it. You need the extra HP for the bleed through damage. If you want to look at Ogryn, I always do +2 HP with either a +3 stamina or a +1 toughness. It really depends on your playstyle, but you don't need a bonus wound on the Ogryn. 3 is enough, and HP gets crazy value with his passive. And something I want to say about breakpoints and perks is sometimes they're based around 80% damage modifiers with other stacked up blessings, so a lot of the time they don't actually end up feeling that good because you need different variables to hit certain thresholds. So I really recommend you plug your weapon into this Wartide calculator. I've been using this thing for ages, and it's been pinned in the useful stuff channel in Discord since it launched. Let you plug your specific weapon in so you can see if you actually hit those breakpoints, and it's one of the most valuable tools you can access for this game if you care about number stuff. But I know most people don't care about number stuff. They just care if something goes hard, and our first build goes the hardest in the entire game, so you know we're lighting this off with the hotshot veteran and its update, with none other than the cringe god himself pulling up in full force to take care of everything the game can throw at 2 teams. So starting with the feats in any of these game modes, the absolute most valuable thing you can bring to the table is bonus grenades. So unless you have 3 Psykers, take this no matter what, and the combination of toughness, damage reduction, reload speed on elite kills, and the ultimate extension just make it so you become an unkillable god. It's been like this forever, and it's one of the most well-rounded kits in the game. And after grinding a ton of games out, this was the most consistent one-size-fits-all build with the Shredder Autopistol and the Power Sword just pulling out in front. It's just so easy to use, and it just makes the majority of missions a cakewalk, but that's not going to surprise anybody. It's been one of the most meta loadouts for such a long time. So if you end up pairing the Power Sword with the Bolter, you also end up with the same result and almost lock in an automatic free win with any of the missions you can go to. So if you're looking to farm lots of materials, I recommend just taking something super meta in and just like grinding it out. But if you've been here for a long time, you know I have some personal favorites to mix in with it. So my melee weapons that I've been using a lot of are the shovel. I don't know why I like it so much. It's not the best, but it has that S-tier bonk sound, and you know I love it. But I also really like the Mark V and Rashad combat axes. They're really fun to use too. And I always take one of these three with my slower weapons like the bolt or a plasma gun because of how fast they pull up, so it really rounds your whole kit out. And some of my favorite ranged weapons to mix it up with are the Mark 8 braced autogun. I've loved this thing forever. Its audio cues just rattle your brain around, and it's been one of my favorites from the very beginning. Then the MG12 has been a god tier weapon with crazy ammo efficiency, mostly because it has a scope and it's just so nice to be able to aim in without iron sights. But iron sights don't stop the Mark II Helbore Lasgun from doing a lot of the same. I know everyone prefers a different model, but this one has been S tier for me since the first tier list, and that's not going to change. It's just too consistent across the board. And finally, I have to talk about how much I love the plasma gun. I've been running it with the setup for a while, and it just makes you unkillable as long as you have ammo and elites on the screen. Glory Hunter just gives you so much extra toughness that you almost never run out of it, so you can just keep venting and shooting over and over again. And if your team is lacking monstrosity and Ogryn damage, the plasma gun and the bolter completely take control and will round out any problems you can run into, especially if you swap that final feat for the big boy damage on the monstrosity Maelstrom missions. You'll just be tearing it up like the true monster hunter you were meant to be. But if you want to be a melee god, when I was on my Zealot, I was cutting everything to pieces. And in the last Inquisitor update, we did a lot of big things based around clearing out hordes as fast as possible, but with the new missions, we need some new things. So we'll still be going with the crit build for this because of how much value it gives to the heavy sword, but we'll be setting it up like this for the mutant spam. If you are getting spicy, you can start one-shotting them with headshots if you're fully ramped up when they hit the walls, but doing as much damage as possible to them wherever you hit them is the most important thing. You're not the only person in the mission, and one thing to notice, if you don't like the crit build, just run flak and maniac damage on it and just switch it over to the Inquisitor build where you don't have to rely on crit. But if you're after some of the new technology like I am, block efficiency stacked all the way up makes you almost unkillable in melee. Plus with the base damages on the heavy sword, once it's ramped with feats and blessings, you just tear everything to pieces in melee anyways, and anytime things get too out of control to be in melee and you need to clear the room out in a panic or deal with big boys, the bolter always makes it insanely easy to keep the game under control. And in my opinion, this is the flat out strongest Zealot build that you can bring to the table. I've always loved running it because it makes missions feel so easy and it really gets pushed to its limit in some of the new Auric modifiers. As many of you know, I'm still trying to get bloodthirsty for my Eviscerator meme build with its broken interaction. So one day that'll come true and I'll be able to show it off, but for now, I'm still suffering after 148 rolls of pure agony. I'm sure crafting's just fine. But moving on, other great weapons to take in on the Zealot are the axes. They have some crazy interactions with the ult, and of course the combat blade always feels nice too. But for ranged weapons, I really just stick to the Mark 8 braced autogun and the MG12 outside of the bolter and the flamethrower, because I don't really feel like the other weapons have the muscle they need to round the builds out for me. But my Ogryn always has the muscles to be the strongest, and I saw some people saying to min height your Ogryn so that you min max and you can hide behind cover. Never. Max height, big energy, all day RP value. Those are the only things that matter. The big man isn't scared of anything and you shouldn't be either. And due to the popular request, we changed the build names and combos around so they make more sense. So Berserker now goes Berserk. It is just built around toughness resets with fast light attack damage to munch everything on the screen, and always uses the Mark III Cleaver to get the job done. Then when you pair it with the Mark II or 5 Ripper guns, you're going to get all the Ogryn RP value you deserve, but I also like using the Groganom Heavy Stubber or the Rumbler with this thing. I just wouldn't use the Rumbler unless you have a veteran in the party anymore. It just runs out of ammo way too fast in the new modes. But any combination of these will let you muscle through pretty much anything the game can throw at you, but we do have a sleeper overpowered super weapon that makes some people have mental breakdowns when I talk about it. Of course, you know it's the shield. Now there is a mode where it's mostly ranged mobs. It's actual agony, still ground through it, and when Space Trump put his wall up, he saved us from our fate. I fully understood its true potential at this moment in time. In this game mode, it will save you 100% of the time, and it's actually saved our mission rate at the end of it.
Oh my god!
Why build a wall when you can become it?
Sometimes it's the little things that count, and it still uses the OG Gigantus bleed build. It makes you the beefcake you were meant to be, and I always pair this thing with one of the 3 heavy stubbers. It doesn't matter which one, they're all insanely fun to use, and it just feels like what I'm playing the most. The Achilles does feel the best because it has a really fast pull-out time compared to the other ones, but it's completely up to you. I personally use the Groganom all the time because I just love that thud every time you pop shots off with it. It just feels so good to use that I can never put it down. But that also doesn't mean we left the least fun class for last. Don't get me wrong, we just do this because the channel's pay to win, and Psyker's been paid to go last for a very long time. And in all the melee missions with no ammo pickups, it really gets the most value. I ran Alyssey with the trauma staff in the first game I played with it, and it was a walk in the park, and ended up just doing a ridiculous amount of damage, and ended up controlling the entire game and deleting every situation we ran into. And I run it like this because I want to be lazy and I don't want to have to spam Brain Burst all the time to keep my stacks up. I just want to be spamming with my staffs when I want to do cool things with them. But I still want to give my team the ultimate CDR because it just gives so much value. It's probably one of the best talents in the entire game. And this is the build I run for almost every single staff when I play my Psyker. I also only use force weapons for RP value because I think it's more fun to just be a space witch now. I also know that the Wiener Sword is better with a lot of these AoE staffs, but I just like using the Illicit too much. It's easily my favorite melee weapon in the game and just feels way too clean to not use. Every time I log into my Psyker, I just want to use the Illicit, so I just do. And I also set my Lightning and Void Strike staffs up like this with the same build, so I can just spam to my heart's content and walk through the map. I will say the Lightning staff still has crazy carry potential by slowing the game down and taking control of it for your team, and it's usually what you see me running on stream when I play Psyker. But the build I have the most fun playing is this Wildfire Purgatos melee build, where you just roll fire onto new mobs with the Slaughterer bonus damage and start cooking the entire screen. It's just so fun when it starts snowballing that I can't put it down, and I've been using it for a while, and it just really shines in those melee and monstrosity missions. So those are all my favorite builds and weapon combos, but something important to talk about is this update also cooked a lot of the old hotfixes. So some things that did get rolled back are mutants could snap turn, poxbursters can go push a mutant sometimes, and I mean, doggos have been a mess forever. They had them perfect for like one update in March. Now they're just a nightmare again, so be careful for that. And if your loadout is bugged out, just go to character select and come back in. That's what ends up fixing it for me. So just keep all these things in mind and let me know in the comments if there's anything else that's broken, so I can bring it all up in the thoughts and opinions video in a few days. And also share your favorite builds that you've been running with me. I'll probably end up playing a lot of them, but I do really hope this helps get you guys some more wins. These are super challenging and really fun missions that I genuinely enjoy, and I just wanted to share my favorites like usual. I also go more in depth into everything that I'm doing on the stream and on the alt channel with how I think about weapons and how they handle more than anything else. I'm also trying to not recommend single shot and like slower shooting weapons, simply because of the hit reg problems that happen after about a week. Fat Shark does need to be restarted in the servers consistently to deal with this, and they just don't. So a lot of those slower firing weapons end up losing a lot of value. But I also want to thank everyone that subbed as a channel member. It helps me keep the channel alive, and I genuinely appreciate all of you supporting me. Making the videos that I want to make really means a lot to me. Plus, I love seeing the dumpster fire emojis get spammed. So that's going to be all for now. I hope you all have great luck in the new missions, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Oh, God damn!